Hello, this is John Miller, the creator of The Rest of Everest. I think I can safely say that this show is, without a doubt, the most in-depth look into the entire experience of what it takes to climb Everest, as well as some other peaks throughout the Himalayas. But all of the events in the series are shown in chronological order, so if you're new to the show, please go all the way back to episode 000 and watch everything in order. That's truly the best way to enjoy it. Thanks. We still have space on the 2011 photography workshop, which begins in 2 months. If you're interested in joining us, now is definitely the time to grab your spot. This year we will not be visiting Everest, but instead we'll be trekking to a mountain in western Tibet called Mount Kailash. Kailash is a very spiritual and holy mountain, and is the favorite trek of most of my Sherpa friends. All of the information for the 2011 workshop can be found on a new website I've set up called himalayanworkshops.com. I'm very excited to say that the Kailash trek will be our most affordable trip to date, and will also be a relatively short trip at just over 2 weeks. I know that many people have wanted to join us in the past, but just haven't been able to afford the 3 to 4 weeks that those other trips have lasted. So far, we already have a few repeat customers from our first and second workshop treks, and that just goes to show how important and meaningful these trips are to everyone who participates. They're so much more than an outdoor photography classroom. They're the adventure of a lifetime. Again, please visit himalayanworkshops.com for all of the details, and we hope to see you at Kailash in 2011.
This is the Rest of Everest video podcast, an almost unabridged expedition experience. Episode 149, the Marquardt Scale.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Rest of Everest. I'm John Miller. We have another group of people from the Season 5 trek, which is, of course, the trek to the Kangshung face of Mount Everest. And it's a little bit different group this week than last week, and we have some new people on the line, so I'm excited about that. I'm just going to go through the list real quick and tell you who's going to be on this episode this week. We've got Shaquille, a new member of the recording here, calling in from Washington, D.C. We've got Jill from Nevada. We have Thilo, as always, from Germany. We have another new person, Nicole, calling in from Australia. We have Jeffrey calling in from Canada. We have Dave calling in from Texas. And we have another new person, Damien, calling in from Maryland. How are you guys all doing today?
Doing well.
Great, John.
Good, John. Hey.
Hey, great.
Hey, John.
Nice to hear from all of you. So this week, unfortunately, we don't have Chris Marquardt with us, but this is pretty much his episode. We did a lot of sightseeing, but between some of the places that we went, we'd have lunch. And so a lot of this episode has to do with a conversation that we had at lunch, all about, you've heard it before, and you're going to hear it in detail this week, the Marquardt Scale. So it's actually something I really appreciate. And I think everyone else found it to be a much easier way to communicate to each other. So let's go ahead and head up to a restaurant on the rooftop overlooking Budnath Stupa. So here we go. All right, this is, of course, the traffic in Kathmandu. I think that's Kevin's elbow sitting there. Yeah, definitely Kevin. But Thilo, I think you shot this.
Yeah? I don't know.
Look at all the motorcycles. But what you'll find is that when people pass, they pass extremely close. Like, he had to move his elbow right there. See that? And also the thing to keep in mind is that you drive on the left side of the road in Nepal, and this bus is kind of all over the place. But look how close everyone gets to the pedestrians and to the other cars and everything. It's amazing. And the motorcycles just go everywhere.
So, you know, John, this might have been weird for a lot of people, but being to India and Pakistan before, it was something that I had seen many times.
It is very similar, right?
Very similar. Actually, a lot less traffic and a lot less dangerous than India, actually.
Not as many people. Nowhere near as many people. I'm wondering, Shaquille, these little minibuses here, these are always packed full of people. They're so small and they're always packed, completely packed full of people. Is that a similar thing in India and Pakistan?
Oh yeah, you'll actually see people on rooftops as well, and there's railings on top of buses, and you know, you look at that and you know that there's just a disaster waiting to happen.
I think the other thing that was kind of cool was seeing, as a motorcyclist, seeing not one passenger, but 2 or 3 or 4.
Again, this is going to be John Miller explaining the Marquardt Scale, and the Marquardt Scale was founded by our co-fearless leader right here.
The co-fearless leader.
Co-fearless leader. So, at some point along this this adventure of ours, everyone's going to be going through some gastrointestinal distress. And in the United States, and that might be where it comes from, we have code words for whether you have to pee or you have to poop. Okay? Poop is you want to take a number 2. Pee is you take number 1. The problem is that along this trip at some point, number 2 will be the same consistency as number 1. Okay? And so what we did was, instead of having to say kind of exactly what's going on, Chris came up with the scale where everyone's going to be at a different point. Some people might be at what we call a 1.0, which we will feel sorry for anyone who's at a 1.0. That means there's almost no difference in consistency, and it's impressive. It's in sound. Yeah, in sound. Okay. So instead of going through all of the rigmarole of having to explain, what we're at, we just say, you know what number 2 is. Okay, we all know what a healthy one is supposed to be like. We all know what number 1 is. So you could say, I'm at 1.5, so you're halfway in between. If anyone's at 2.0, you're feeling normal. So hopefully what it's like back home. But what you'll hear a lot of is I was at 1.5 this morning, now I'm at 1.1. So it's not as bad as it could be, but it's still really bad. But then, it's like we said, it's extensible, okay? So if you're at like a 0.7, okay, that's bad. It's like, that's bad. But the other part of the whole experience is that some of this group, I'm going to look at all of you, some of you are going to be too shy to be able, once you start getting up towards the number 2, or towards the 2.0, you're going to be shy, and you might not be able to go for several days because of whatever reason. You're too afraid of a noise you might make in the toilet tent that's very close to the rest of the group. And if you don't go for a few days, you get backed up and you start going 2.1, 2.3, you start going higher and higher and higher. And so it's extensible in both directions. So it's a very, very efficient, and there is a marquardtscale.com, I believe. There's also a Wikipedia entry.
Is there one right now?
I think so, yeah.
Did someone do that?
There was, a while back, Chris had a contest of how can you explain the Marquardt scale without using the explicit terminology. And where does that stand, Chris?
Huh?
You had a competition.
I had a competition.
We haven't judged it yet. We haven't judged it yet.
I should have actually announced it, but I just didn't get to it yet.
But how do you explain it without using the words? So how do you use how many euphemisms can you use for it? And but it in itself is a euphemism. So you're going to hear us say 1.8.
Actually, the best part was last year when John, towards the end of the trek.
Hold on.
Back in Lukla, John Miller came back, and he went, guess what?
Well, okay, in Lukla we had toilets for the first time.
Toilets for the first time. He came back and he went, guess what? I just had 5 1.8s within half an hour.
Thank you very much.
No more words needed. It just says it all. He was, and you should have seen the smile on his face. He was so happy.
I was smiling down to my toes.
Yes, he was smiling over all cheeks and everything. So good one.
Chris, I'm trying to understand, when you get to like 0.7, you're going from almost liquid to gaseous.
Well,
exactly.
And any sort of mixture between the two,
Yeah.
It may be peppered with some 1.5.
Yeah.
So
there are all sorts of nuances there. So we just gave you the simple version, but there are actually like 1.8 swimming in 1.0s and stuff like that now.
You should have a noise scale with it and make it like 1.8.4 or something.
Well, if you want to be that granular,
I know. The other issues I don't have. It's the.
So that's the Marquardt Scale, yeah?
That was a good lesson.
A very important one.
Yeah, so yeah, get familiar with the terminology because you're going to get familiar with the symptoms soon.
Okay,
Yeah, but that really is an important thing to keep track on how everyone's doing, and that's why we had that conversation. And
yeah, I'm pretty sure I do.
Well, you know, I'm getting hungry. I missed that food. Really good stuff.
so there's Boudin.
That was some good food.
Really do get an amazing view from that rooftop patio from the restaurant. This was the first year, having been to Swinebudenath and Budenath, where they were doing a lot of maintenance work on both of them. So it was always interesting to see. This time they're just painting, just whitewashing.
Yeah, John, this was pretty impressive. I think you said this is the largest temple in Nepal, or?
Yep, that's the largest. That's the largest one. Yeah, I think it actually is the largest stupa. Tibetan stupa in the world.
I think Dave and I were talking to somebody, and there was a question we had about whether it's hollow, whether there's rooms in it, and whatever. So I guess there's a bit of lore that there's some secret passages.
I've heard always that it's completely solid, and in only the Kumbum temple that we went to up in Tibet is one that you can go inside, but that actually has more of a Indian-style architecture than Tibetan. And this whole area is a lot of people from Tibet are visiting this area here. A lot of people who practice Tibetan Buddhism. How do you guys feel about being at this place from a photography perspective?
Well, you know, it was
possibility.
It was great for photography. Unfortunately, it was overcast that day, as you can see, and I think it even rained a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But still got some great pictures, and really got into the street photography as well.
Yeah, I got one of my favorite pictures from this stupa.
And what was that?
It was a lady walking around the stupa, but she was really old and really hunched over, and there was a break in the crowd, and I got her all by herself. But it turned out could have been better, of course, if I had more time to compose it. But everybody at work seemed to like it.
That's cool. I think we all, a whole bunch of us, found these kids playing with the birds. I can see Shaquille there. And there's Nicole.
I actually have 3 of my favorite pictures from this place. It was really good.
These kids were having so much fun.
Oh no! The other cool thing was that I was able to speak or at least understand a little bit of the language, and so that really helped. And then Nicole knowing Chinese helped in Tibet. So that was kind of neat.
I found that to be incredibly helpful. So thank you to both of you for all of that help.
I think if Nicole hadn't have been with us, we wouldn't have gotten into the base camp in Tibet.
Totally see Mom going like, wait, that's too much.
Well, just Gunda means bad.
Okay.
Water means fun. Whoa, look at that.
So, Shaquille, so is you're able to understand what they're saying, but it's not exactly the same as what's it, Hindi?
Yeah, no, it's actually quite different, but there's so many words that intermix, and a lot of the folks actually know Hindi pretty well. So even if I couldn't speak their language, we could speak in Hindi in many cases.
I got it. That's great.
I was telling everybody at work just how easy this trip was. One, because of our guides and Sherpas and everything, but also we had 2 people there that basically spoke both the languages, but also it just made it really easy and comfortable for everybody, or at least for me.
And that was the person taking a photo that we just saw a bit ago was Aaron.
Actually, all the Sherpas spoke Hindi as well, and then they were teaching me Nepali. I've forgotten a lot about the language, but I had to learn quite a bit towards the end.
I struggle so hard with other languages. It's just something my brain just does not do well. I took six years of German, and I can understand when the German contingent of the workshops are speaking. I can kind of understand what's going on, but what they're saying. But it's so hard for me to learn any new languages at this point. I think my brain's pretty much fixed at that point at this point in my life. Another thing that is always interesting when you go to these places is just how many people are just sitting around, just, people watching or having, a little picnic or something like that. Just, it's a very, very casual atmosphere.
Yeah, this was a very peaceful area, especially in this part of the city. Everybody was a little different than the regular areas in Nepal.
Those eyes of Buddha are just so striking, especially with that red skirt around it. It just really is beautiful, and it's very large. You can hopefully be able to tell by the scale of everything. This is a very large temple.
Yeah, those eyes are a good concept. I was always making sure I wasn't doing anything wrong.
Hier runter.
Nee, dann musst du einmal ganz rumlaufen, dann bin ich schon mal rumgelaufen.
Es geht nur hier runter.
This is Chris Marquardt filming, of course, and these candles are, there's one place where you see all these candles, and the heat emanating from this is just incredible. You also see a lot of people with face masks on. I think we've talked about this before, but it's just a really common occurrence. and it just helps people to protect themselves from a lot of the exhaust fumes and the dust and everything. And I know several people wore some on the trek, particularly Erin. You'll hear more about that in future episodes. We had a special name for her. This is Pemba filming, by the way.
Yeah, Pemba turned out to be a really good videographer.
Oh, really good.
We will not be strangers at all in a week, let alone a month from now. Okay?
So true.
And there really is no such thing as too much information. We are all human. We're all going to be going through our own little discomforts and stuff. We're all going to be going through our own incredible joys. So I don't want anyone to feel embarrassed about giving off away some personal information. Male or female, it doesn't matter, okay? We're all human. There's both of us here. There's almost as many women on this group as there are men, okay? And so it really doesn't matter. And I want you to feel comfortable enough, if not telling the group, which you're more than welcome to, but you can tell us in private, you know, if you're having any issues or anything like that, because this, I mean, it's part of, I can't speak from a female side of things, but in terms of the male side of things, or just being a person, I've gone through most of the discomfort that a person can on these trips, but you'll notice that I'm happily still back here, okay? So that just really is something that you have to kind of get out of your head, some of the just day-to-day, like back home, just the sensibilities of what life is like back home. Like, you're not going to talk about a lot of this stuff back home regularly, but here we're going to be talking about it every single day. One of the jokes on the expedition in 2003 was that someone, you know, I was having a conversation with my friend Banjo Bannon from the Northern Ireland team, and we were talking about just food and everything, and he'd be like, about how close you get when you're climbers in a tent, and someone would fart, and they'd be like, "Where'd you get the tuna? Why don't you share it with me?" You know? And so it's stuff like that, but it's part of the drill out here, and you know, it's I think I was telling this to Jill, who's filming over here, is that this is a really good opportunity to let all that vanity and everything that we all kind of battle through every day just go out the window, okay? Don't worry what you look like. Don't worry what you sound like. Don't worry what you might seem to be like on camera, okay? It doesn't matter. We're here to get the real of every one of you, and I think you're going to be very pleased with the real that we get from every one of you once we're doing the episodes in 8 months, a year from, well, we'll be doing this a year from now. Who knows how many episodes we'll be into it.
Because I think that's exactly what happened.
No, think of it as being very freeing, okay? Because so infrequently are you able to be just, so like, I don't care at all what I look like right now. And you might be like, I haven't actually seen my own face in 2.5 weeks. You know, and it's a unique opportunity, so take advantage of it, because you just don't get it very often, and embrace it. And then you can go back home, and then you can go back to however you want it to be, however you want to be when you're back home. But out here, it's a really cool opportunity to be like completely not like that. You can be whoever you want to out here, and you can be as loud and boisterous as you want. You can be as quiet as you want, but just, you know, be yourself, whoever you would like that to be, because we don't know who you are back home. But so, you know, just all I would say is, don't be shy from the cameras, because they're going to be everywhere. Still cameras and video cameras. And don't be like, oh, you know, like ducking out of the shot and stuff like that, because if a camera's pointing in your direction, chances are you're the subject.
It is the highest photo workshop
the highest photography workshop in the world.
It's a photo workshop after all.
Yeah. So, but you know, it's so frequent that you see a camera pointing towards you, and you duck to get out of the way. And that was something the last group struggled with at first a lot. And it's like, no. I'm thinking to myself right now, John Coleman. It's like, no, John, I wanted a shot of you, and he was like, oh, okay, got it. But no, this is a unique opportunity to shed a lot of the trappings of daily modern life and take advantage of it. So don't worry about too much information, and don't worry about what you might appear to be on camera, because we are always going to be our own worst critic, and you are never on camera the way that you are appearing in your head. So everyone is here is very cool. I'm going to say it off the bat. They're very cool. So you've already got that going for you. So That was John's speech number 1.
There will be more.
Listening.
So, makeup artist here? Nobody's gonna come and powder us?
Here's my powder.
It's funny when you said that, Shaquille, because when I started dating my wife Heidi, I was actually doing I was a news anchor here in Fort Collins, and I on a daily basis wore much more makeup than she did.
But you were right. Once we got trekking, forget ducking. We're just too tired. It was like, yeah, take whatever picture you like. Don't care right now.
But it can be a little bit tiresome to have the cameras around all the time. But doing these episodes, having it all recorded for doing the commentary in these episodes is just an awful lot of fun. So I'm always glad to see some of the stuff, because I totally forget, moments that happen, and then you see them on video, and it just brings you right back. So it's a lot of fun. But next week we are going to be going back to the city of Bhaktapur. And I'm really excited to see this episode and hear what you guys have to say, because I did not get to go myself. I had to keep doing business back in Tamil, making sure everything, we had all of our supplies and everything like that. So I had to take a break from being with the group, and so you guys got to see some really cool stuff, and that's all going to be documented in next week's episode. So thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate you joining me. Really enjoyed doing this commentary with you guys.
Okay. Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
My pleasure.
All right, guys, and we will see you next week. Bye. The Rest of Everest is downloaded all over the world every day, and watching the show has become a part of many people's weekly routine. The show will always be free to download, but it's by no means free to produce. Please help me cover my costs by making a small monthly or one-time donation from the right sidebar on my website, and in return I'll give you some cool bonus materials. A donation of any amount will grant you access to some interesting video content, including high-definition versions of several podcast episodes. A one-time donation of $25 or more, or any of the monthly donation options, will additionally grant you access to a downloadable version of the film Everest: The Other Side, which episodes 1 to 61 are based on. I really cannot express how vital these donations are, and if you've made a donation, thank you so much. As always, our announcer is Marlon May, and our music is provided by Wendy Wu. Check her out at wendywu.com. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching The Rest of Everest. For more information on the expedition, please visit therestofeverest.com.